Hey, what's up, good people? This is Derek Johnson, for those who don't know. And I'm making myself do this video because it's uncomfortable, but it's how you grow, right? So I'm over here, got the whole, tie on. I got sweats on the bottom because that's just the energy I'm feeling. But I'm going to push through and hopefully give you guys some good content and, help in the learning process. So I had a couple of conversations this week that inspired this video. One was specific to what are the realities of education when it comes to AI, and what can an individual do to continue to improve. But then, how do you differentiate between the good use of your money for learning AI, right? There's a ton of programs out there that you can spend money on, whether it's actually learning AI versus learning how to manage in the world of AI, or somebody sent me a link to a business school that had a special offering related to management in the era of AI, and it was asking a simple question: is this a good use of my money? And that answer always goes back to what's your goal. And if you have a company, if you work for a company that has shown you that they will value those kinds of certifications and classes, then yeah, it's a good return on investment, right? If you taking a class is going to allow you to stay in your job or get a promotion, it makes sense. Signing up for a class just because it's available and it says AI in it, that's what you got to be careful about. You always got to go back to what is your ultimate goal. People that teach amazing classes that help entrepreneurs figure out how to improve their marketing, operations, um, you know, analytics, and really understanding their customers. And so they always have a goal in mind before they start their classes. And that's what I would encourage each of you that are trying to figure out what you should do when it comes to learning. The other thing that came up this week was the value of college in this time when the stat was, half the kids that are in college started college at a time where ChatGPT was available. So that means they've been using AI for everything from note taking to outlining to fully writing full reports and papers. And there's a legitimate question about what that does to the education process. Are these kids learning to learn, or are they learning how to use tools? And does that justify a $50,000 or $100,000 a year college education? And that's a very real concern that I think for a lot of us is going to hit home in the next couple of years. Both my kids graduated college recently, and I think a lot about the job market that they're walking into and what the real potential is. And so these are real concerns that all of us have to factor in and ask ourselves, okay, let's make some assumptions. Let's assume that AI is only going to keep getting better. It's going to be part of our lives, whether it's in our phones or our laptops or any kind of devices that we may have access to, or within 2 to 5 years, robotics. So assuming all that happens, then what? What do we need to start teaching, whether it's ethics and really helping people understand the boundaries of what you can trust and what you need to preserve in the course of a dialogue and course of human interactions. How do we manage psychology in a world where a lot of our young people are going to grow up having access to constant AI companions? Even if it's a chatbot, it feels real and it gives some sense of companionship and advice. I know adults that are using it as a counselor instead of calling psychiatrists. And, what does that mean? What are the implications to human relationships, and how do we preserve the good of AI without letting all of the potential side effects overwhelm us? So these are conversations I want you guys to have, not just with me, but with each other, with your family members. When is AI a good thing for companionship? I have parents that I'm sure wonder if they could get more of my time and feel like I'm always too busy and they'd love to have somebody to talk to. They might embrace an AI companion. So the question becomes, where are the opportunities for entrepreneurship? How many of you can build AI bots or AI solutions that are catered towards senior citizens that could be actually very welcome and very much appreciated? So there's a ton of opportunity, and part of what we have to do is focus on those opportunities in the midst of the transformation that's happening over the next few years. So keep in mind, we have to be active in this. And I was in a conversation just yesterday, and my caution to the people on the call is we are so busy watching every press release or every new version of ChatGPT or whatever the new tool is, that as businesses, as people, we're almost giving up our ability to shape our own roadmaps. And I want to encourage you all to start doing that again. Make some core assumptions, and based on those assumptions, make a plan. Don't just sit and wait. If you are an accountant and you have suspicions that AI-based tools are going to decrease your ability to do what you've always done as an accountant, then assume that to be true, give it a timeline, and then start making a plan about what you do after that. Does that mean you change your offering? Does that mean that you add something else? The way the combination of what you know would be harder for AI to replicate? Start actively thinking about that now. Don't wait until it happens, please. The other conversation I've had, and this one's a little trickier for me, is I post these videos because I am in part processing and understanding my own point of view and what I think and what I believe, and in part because I want to help those who want the information to feel empowered and know that they can do things for themselves. They don't have to always wait for somebody else to tell them what's possible. And I try to show you the things that I think are easy enough for you to just start doing without having to sign up for a class. But I also realize that for some people, having one-on-one instruction or having some kind of dedicated focused time would be more impactful than getting a bunch of random instructions. So I'm being challenged by those who love me to start thinking about offering a structured class or something where, you know, there would be a payment ecosystem. Again, I'm not doing it yet. I'm thinking about it, but I'm welcoming feedback, and let me know what would make sense. And if there is a version of education that you would rather have that would be a dedicated class or a one-on-one session. And I think about the one-on-one specifically for entrepreneurs and people who are in management who just don't have a lot of time to do the experimentation that people like I do. So I might spend 2 to 4 hours a day just exploring and building things with AI. So it gives me a comfort level that maybe you don't have the time to develop. So I can understand why that kind of offering would make sense. So let me know. I'll be happy to socialize with you and figure out what makes sense. Still building out my own company, learning how to use AI as a co-founder, co-CEO of sorts to help me think about my operations and my sales and all the parts of the business that as an entrepreneur, you got to think about all the time and may not have a team to help you with. And so this is where I would say an AI tool can really be handy, but you still have to direct it. You still have to give it some sense of flow and priority and perspective. And that's not organic for an AI solution, right? They're going to take the best information they have available and apply it to your situation, but it may not always work for your situation. And there are things that you, as the expert, have to know and plug into your workflow. So that's my current reality. Yeah, man, it's a new world, and I'm on the side of optimism, but also on the side of we have to be more active in shaping what this new world looks like and not allow ourselves to be passive and just waiting for something to happen, because it's happening whether we're involved or not. And the economics of the job market are changing in real time, and for many of us, our jobs have been core to our value creation in our environments. We're gonna have to tap into more, I guess, our native or natural instincts around value creation, because those jobs may not feel the same when you have solutions like AI. You may be put in a position where you're managing a collection of AI agents as opposed to owning or managing a team of 20 or 30 people. You may manage a team of 5 people and 20 agents. And what does that feel like? What is that new experience going to look like for you? And these are things you got to think about as an entrepreneur. You may only get funded enough to support a collection of tools for your first round. And then based on developing traction, then you can hire people, right? What does that look like? For those of you that are investors, these are things you have to think about when you're competing with companies that may start with a much smaller team and deliver outsized returns compared to somebody that starts with a 12-person team, right? These are realities, and we just got to have the conversation. So that's why I put on the suit, because I'm trying to get serious about this video and content creation thing. Anyway, you're my people. My priority is you. You let me know what you want to know about, what I can educate you on and share my perspective on, and I'm happy to do that. If you have opportunities to take classes, like, if you want to send them to me, I'm happy to give you my perspective. There's a lot of free stuff out there, y'all. Both OpenAI, Gemini, Anthropic, all the main ChatGPT type tools have a lot of free content. There's a lot of free content on YouTube. So if you really just want to get started, you don't have to spend $1 to get started. And then if you want to advance, the biggest thing you can do is actually use this stuff day to day. Build your first custom GPT, build your first project, allow ChatGPT to give you feedback on tasks and things that you've been deliberating over, and then start building your own solutions. I think one of my big ones I'm trying to figure out is, how do I build auditing tools, right? Everything that comes out of these tools isn't 100% accurate. And the last thing you want to do is that 1% to make you look like you're not qualified and you don't know what you're doing. So we got to be smart. We got to use these tools. Sometimes I hear the analogy that these tools are like calculators. Yes and no, right? A calculator is a great tool that has a very specific purpose. The versions of AI that are being built have the intention of being all tools, not just a version to address math, but a whole solution to navigate thinking, and not only thinking, but ultimately creating. And we got to be careful about the analogies of the past, where we compare it to other industrial revolutions, or tools like the computer, or tools like calculators, because the goal of artificial general intelligence is to build something that's smarter than all humans put together, and that can not only tell us about things we know, but tell us about things we've yet to experience and know. I listened to a podcast recently on DeepMind, which is very much at the core of much of the innovation that we're benefiting from. And the conversation went in the direction of, well, what do you do once you've exhausted all the available known data? And what do you do when you are asking AI to consider things that you don't actually have to tell it what to think? So that becomes the ultimate, what they call reinforcement learning, where you put in data collection tool, whether it's a camera, audio, whatever tooling you have, in an environment, and allow that tool to collect its own data and to start experimenting and seeing what creates a positive output. So I'm going to use a simple example. For, let's say you put some version of a tool in a field and you ask it to grow plants, and over time it learns the right way to put seeds in the soil, and the right way to water, and the right way to manage sun exposure. And over time it gets better at producing an output that is likely to be satisfactory, right? It didn't have to watch a human do it. It didn't have to be told what to do. It was put in an environment with one core objective, which is grow as many plants as possible, and then it figured out how to do that. That's the direction that a lot of AI is going, which can be amazing, but it can also be scary, because as you give something like that an objective, it may do things to reach that objective that may cause unintended consequences. And that's why we all have to be actively involved in this process. We can't have our hands off the wheel and trust that these big companies will just figure it out. The other thing that's really critical to factor in is a lot of these solutions historically up to this date are based on access to data. There's a large part of the world where most of our knowledge and our experiences has not been digitized. So if you think about the global south or even rural America and parts of the world where being digital hasn't been a priority because it hasn't created any advantage. So there's stories, there's information, there's understanding, there's all kinds of human experience that's never been digitized and has never been factored into these AI solutions. So when an AI solution makes a recommendation and you, from your own knowledge, is like, that doesn't make sense in my world, you could be absolutely right, because that solution does not account for or even understand your perspective. So there are opportunities there for those of us that care and want to see the best for those communities. Is how do we preserve their way of life and find the right balance and use of AI-based solutions, and knowing where to draw the line is something that more of us are going to have to start doing, because applying blanket AI-based solutions to all things is not the right answer. There are opportunities to start collecting more data if we want these ecosystems to participate in the AI economy. Then data collection, data cleanup, and not just the data, but the insights that come from that data. There are huge opportunities there. The business models are trickier, right? Because a large company may not see the value in paying for data collection in a country where they don't see immediate capital returns. So you have to be creative in showing them where there's a return on such an investment, but there will be returns. And all my time, I've seen that, if you can think through and understand a business's ultimate goals, and you can make that connection point from the thing you're trying to address, you can ultimately create potential business opportunities for yourself and for those people. So that's it. I am going to go back to being lazy and taking off this jacket and hacking my life away online. Hope this was helpful. Love, peace, and soul.